let me show you how to properly do a squat, because believe it or not, a lot of people don't squat right, and sometimes they say it hurts their knees, sometimes they say it hurts their back. A lot of people can't get very low in the squat. I've had people come to me when they start squatting the squat like this, as if they're doing a sort of what do you call that, Michael Jackson bit? But it's just because they're untrained and they don't know what to do. Now, a proper bodyweight squat, or if you're holding the weight at the front or at the back, would be usually your feet would be hip or shoulder width apart, depending on your body and what feels comfortable. Your toes would likely be slightly turned out, like 5 to 1 on a clock. They could be forward, but often they'll be 5 to 1 or 10 to 2. Yes, you wouldn't really tend to squat at a 1/4 to 3. That's a bit weird, right? That's nearly the splits. But 10 to 2, 5 to 1. Think where your feet are, right? So you can get a nice, good, flat foot when you squat. Now, I broke my ankle, so I don't have very much good mobility in this ankle. So when I squat, you will see my heel raise. If you have not broke a bone in your ankle or anything, ideally your heels should be flat on the floor. Okay, so I have to have a little bit of a wider stance because of this. Okay, but a wider stance squat, you'd usually call what we call a sumo stance. What that will do is usually restrict the depth that you can get, but it'll increase usually the drive that you'll be able to do. It's often an easier squat to do because you don't have to go as low. But I'm going to teach you the basic squat right here, which is feet either hip width or shoulder width apart, toes slightly out, feet nice and flat, chest up. Now, a big mistake that people make when they're doing a squat, I'm going to show you the body weight, then a kettlebell, and then I'll show you with a bar as well. Biggest mistake that most people make is they always look down. So they squat, and then all that happens is they bend the knees a little bit, and it's as if they're going to headbutt the floor, right? Now, obviously, a lot of people are very immobile these days from too much sitting down. They don't have very loose hips, they have tight ankles, etc. So this happens a lot. I see a lot of people happen, so their belly comes down and end up just squatting like this. Not really much of a squat, right? A couple of things you can do to improve upon this. Number one is look directly forward. Seriously, like most people when they squat, they're looking down, trying to look behind them, and like sticking their fucking head between their arse, almost, right? Look forward. Your eye position matters. If you want to squat properly, look forward. Your hand position as well. People have their hands here, so they end up pressing off the legs. They're not really doing any much work, right? So I'll always try and correct everybody's technique where I can and when I see things not going quite well. So the best way to start a squat is to look forward with your hands under your chin. So your arms are out the way and you're actually taking the load in the legs. You're able to sit down, as like you see, you can see my heel lifting there, that's broken ankle that. However, your knees should be out, not tracking in like this, right? We're not doing any going on. Well, if we're spreading my knees out, we're keeping my feet flat, we're keeping my chest up, looking forward, we're squatting as low as we can, we're letting the legs do the work, not the back. So we're not bending up and then throwing the back up like this. It's how you hurt your back on a squat often if you lean forward. I've hurt my back a few times from a heavy squat, from leaning forward too much, from not being able to manage the weight, of course. That's your first few pointers. Look forward, squat as low as you can. Now maybe you get to here and you stop. That's some people, you're stuck, you can't get to parallel. So you can't quite actually get lower than that, right? It's not a great squat, it's a sort of semi-squat, it's all right, it's good enough. Ideally you want to be shooting for at least parallel, at least 90 degrees, parallel to the floor, right? That's the more depth you've got, the more glute activation, the more leg activation, just the better you're going to be, the stronger you're going to feel, all right? But if you can't do that, two things that you can do. Number one is the following. Depending on the severity of your tightness or your lack of mobility, raising the heels with little weights or larger weights will help the depth of your squat. If you can't squat low, you shouldn't really be squatting heavy, right? You should work on your depth first. So a couple of things to do. Number one, place elevation under your heels so that your ankles are raised, because a lot of the time most people can't squat because they have tight ankles. But if your heels are raised and you stay in the same stance, a lot of people will notice that they can actually squat lower with the heels raised because of the ankle mobility, right? That's number one. Or if you come even higher, sometimes it's even easier, yes? The higher the elevation, sometimes the easier it will be to squat nice and low. I can squat super quick and low on that when the heels are raised, even though my mobility is pretty good. Second thing you can do to improve the depth of your squat is hold on to something. It's got a TRX set up like this. It's just a technical term for these bands. Just even something hard to hold on to, like the squat rack or anything in the gym that is sturdy enough to hold your body weight. And what you can do here is, as you squat, lean back. Push your knees forward, right? Lean back. So you're actually holding your body weight up with your hands. When you're able to lean back and still keep your balance, you can usually always get lower in the squat. And as you come up, obviously it's too tempting sometimes to use your arms. When you're doing a squat, try and use your legs as much as possible. Your arms are just there for support if need be from these straps or whatever steel structure is in front of you. But you can technically work on your depth by holding yourself if you need to lean back and drive up, yes? Now, tempo is important as well. See, a lot of people squatting like this. Everyone wants to do shit fast. I don't get what it is. Because we see CrossFitters online and people doing world record attempts and crazy shit, and we think they're ripping, they're jacking, they're maybe sports people, or they're training for American football or whatever it is, and we see all these flashy shit online, but majority of the time, people don't train to that level of intensity. It's only to show off, right? Most of your training should actually be a little bit slower, a little bit more controlled. So when you're squatting, especially if you're getting used to technique, same with anything, whether it be a push-up, whether it be a press, a pull, whatever exercise, slow down a bit. Slow down a bit, get the technique in, get yourself low, keep your feet flat, look forward. Remember, don't look down. When you look down, this happens, you go down. Look forward, keep a tall chest. And if you need something to hold on to like these, to get lower, even better. So over time, that will help your depth. Let's add a little bit of weight. It's exactly the same when you're doing the squat with a little bit of weight. Ideally, if you're doing dumbbell or kettlebell, hold it right into the chin. Dumbbells are fairly easy to hold on to, as are kettlebells with the two-handle grip. Hold it right under your chin, chest up, and then again, important, look forward. You could even look slightly up, because if you just do this and you're just tilting at the hips and your squat looks like that, you're not going to get much out of it, and you may actually hurt your back. So look forward, get a good stance, slow as you can go. Even if you stop there, that's fine. Control yourself, man. When you're doing a squat, what matters is technique and depth. If you can, don't worry if you can't get lower than parallel, but always shoot for a minimum of parallel. That is a decent quality squat where you're going to get some gains out of it. Yeah, nice and controlled, up quick. I would always recommend coming up faster than you go down. Yes, always come down a bit slower and up nice and fast. That is your basic body weight and dumbbell squat. Let's go and have a look at the bar. To finish off about the squat, let's take you through some basic techniques and tips on the back squat, or the barbell squat if you like. There's several ways to do it, be it on the back, on the front. You cross your arms on the front if you don't have the mobility to do the front. I'm just going to teach you a little bit on the back squat right now. I have cut back squats down significantly since I've done my ankle. I just don't manage as well with them as what I did. However, I still love them. I've done several years of practice. I've been coached by some of the best in the game when it comes to lifting and Olympic lifting. And I've noticed quite a few little technique things which I think would be quite useful for you to know going into training, going into squatting, especially if you want to take it a little bit more seriously. So when you are back squatting, you want to make sure that you put your hands on the bar first. I see a lot of people doing this, going under and then getting that bar position afterwards. Don't do that. Get a hand position first. The best way to do it is slightly wider than shoulder, if not straight out with the shoulders. You would never take it like this because you obviously need to get the hands right behind the bar, and you need to obviously try and grip the bar as well. So some people cannot do a back squat because they simply can't get their shoulders back. Their chest's too tight, their shoulders are too tight, and they don't have the mobility to actually even hold the bar, which is fine. So what they'd need is some kind of different bar like we have on the bottom there, where you hold the straps, that you hold the grips at the front, or you would do a crossed arm at the front. So only do this if you can actually take a hold of the bar. At first it's uncomfortable. You will get little marks on the back of your neck where the bar is sitting. You can put the pad on, but I just prefer it without. I think the pad can hinder you sometimes as well. It can raise the bar a little bit further off and put a little bit more pressure in areas which is not needed. I like to use the chamfer. Where you've got your smooth bit on the bar there, you've got your chamfer there. I like to use the chamfer as a guide where I stick my thumb on and then I wrap my hands around tight. I'll walk my head under, get in a stance before I squat it off, and I will pull the bar onto my back. Now I will make sure that I have holding this. I don't want this to be here because I'm not going to be able to squat very well if my hands are like this. I want to be able to hold the bar. Now if this is too uncomfortable, like excruciating, you can, depending on your mobility, widen your hands. Some people have to go for a nice wide grip there because their shoulders are too tight, right? Or their chest is too tight. But the tighter you can get it, the better. You want a nice tight grip on the back. Now this is what we call a high bar, where it's literally on the top of me shoulders, and it rests more or less on the top of me traps. currently not hurting. Mind, I am used to it, but if you're not used to it and you're quite bony, I've got a lot of muscle in my back, so it doesn't stick in my bones so much. If you're thin, this might hurt a little bit, and if you're not used to it as well. So take a step back. Again, the same principle would apply as I took you through before with how you squat. Your feet would be flat. Again, I have to choose a wider stance because of my ankle here, otherwise it raises. However, your toes at 10 to 2 or 5 to 1 would usually be where you would squat. Some people would squat with them straight ahead, but it's whatever feels comfortable, where you can track your knees forward, keep your chest up, and squat. Looking forward, controlling your descent at least parallel and up. Yes, all the time trying to pull this onto the back. Now there is a variation of a low bar squat, which some people need to use because of the mobility. They need to have wider hands and it just feels more comfortable there. I use a low bar when I do things like good mornings, when I'm having more of a hinge in it, so I don't want it too high on my back when I'm doing that and it pulling us too far forward. But for a regular back squat, you've got the high bar again, but if your mobility is not great, you might need to drop it so it comes to the top of the rear delts, if you will, so it's a little bit lower on the back. As long as you can feel like you've got a grip on it, I think that's quite important. If you can't grip it, just don't do the back squat. Do an alternative. But as long as you've got a good grip on it, you can get nice and tall in the chest, nice and slow the way down, and up fast. Yes? Sets and reps will vary depending on your level, your goal. Some people do 5x5 if they're doing a strength cycle, for example. Some people do 10x10 if they're doing German volume sets, which is only for really the experienced. Or you get some people, you know, if they're beginners, just want to build some strength, 3 to 4 sets of 10 to 12 is good, you know, with a controlled eccentric, which is with descent. It's nice and slow. I'll not go into anything further. This should be enough useful information for you to help educate you and help you a little bit so you don't get hurt and you do things properly. If this has been useful, leave a comment below. Let me know if you have any questions on the squat or the back squat, and I'll answer them below. See you on the next video.